Hello and welcome back to F1 Manager Creator Team Mode here for Spain round 10, and it is the first time one of our vehicles at least has an entirely new spec car. Mick has the second chassis, the only second chassis, but we only had two of the old ones, so they effectively had one each there regardless. We talked about this last time round. Either way, if Mick broke a car, then he was going to have to emergency manufacture a part. Which brings me on to a point, because obviously that costs money, emergency manufacture, a lot of money. So I thought, with a whole new spec car on, time to check in on the old cost cap situation. And turns out there's a problem, because there's a big number at the top of this, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. 90.7 million on car part development. Now that is cost both design and manufacture of parts. Obviously it's going to be a bigger number than you think of, because it is both of those things, rather than separate it out into design and manufacture. Don't know why they don't do that, but that's a lot of money. The key one here on this screen, by the way, is the projection, which is 111.2, which gives us about 26 million leeway still for the rest of this year. Not a lot of money, 26 million. And obviously if you develop any facilities in that second half, then that's the problem. Staff salaries, by the way, is just the staff. It's not the drivers. So any affiliate drivers don't go into that. But of course, if you pay the money up front, that just goes out of our normal money pool, which isn't a lot, which is another thing I need to talk about briefly. But this 90.7 made me look at all the details under the hood here, because through the same means that I temporarily fixed the AI development while it was broken, that's now patched, that's now seemingly fine. Through those same means, you can look at kind of a lot of other data, including your cost cap breakdown. Turns out, you start the year having spent 23 million more than any other team. I'm not quite sure why the other teams have different starting points. It probably partially to do with engine, but the numbers are too big for that, and I don't know why the gaps are too large for it just to be purely engine based, which I get. Obviously, engines are bought and licensed on January 1st. However, as a creator team, you have 23 million more in your cost cap already spent than any other team, which doesn't make any sense. I can see the argument. I could already see the argument being typed out that you're a brand new team, you're buying, you developed a car for this year, that's going to cost money. But you're not buying the car on January the 1st. If you're a new team, you're not starting on January 1st. You will have already done that work before you're on the grid. All of that work developing a car, the original spec car, will have been done up to the end of 2023. January 1st is when you take over in-game and start developing from the first spec. That 23 million, I don't understand. That 23 million shouldn't exist as a punishment on day one. It's like they've averaged out what all the other teams spend, put that in the cost cap, and then forgotten they've done that, and then charged you for the engine on top of that, which was roughly 20-something million. I think the Alpine is actually just 20 million. But it's almost like they've doubled the engine situation, because they've seen how much they charge all the other teams at the start of the year. They've averaged that out and then just whacked on the engine on top of that when you've bought your engine. So I don't really understand what's happened there. And I think it's a bug. I think it's a mistake at the very least. Even if it's not a bug, it's just wrong. So I don't know what to do about this. I will play with the 26 million that we've got left. I will play to that. I will only be designing one new part or researching one new part per ATR window now, because I can't afford to do any more than that. I will still play to that, but I think what I'll do is, particularly if there's an engine, that would then take me over the cost cap, because it punishes you twice for going over the cost cap, of course. It punishes you for being over the cost cap, and then it fines you for being over the cost cap. So if I have anything that takes me over the cost cap as an emergency powertrain part, because they are ridiculously expensive, and we know they're ridiculously expensive based on feedback from people who are in the know. In reality, those powertrain purchases are a pittance compared to what they are in the game. And I understand it's obviously meant to be a balancing thing, but they've not balanced it, because last year from 22 to 23, they made your design stuff more expensive, but then didn't make anything else cheaper to balance it out, which made cost cap last year a problem. And now this year, they've made your incomes less in general. Like, they've changed the way you get your income, which is better and more realistic, the way you get your income now, but it's also generally less money in than you got last year, while still spending the same. So now the money is not balanced in that regard. Ironically, if you're not being arbitrarily punished at the start of the year, it now makes cost cap easier to avoid, because you literally can't spend enough. But there's a bit of a problem here. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be sensible with the remaining money that we have. And then if there's a powertrain part over it, I might cheese it just because it's clearly an error. And it doesn't sit right with me, really. It's not realistic. Also, that terrifies me, and I don't think that's calculated right. But if there's a way to change how much a powertrain part costs in the database and I can save that, then I might do that. Because they're just wrong in the first place. Nonetheless, something to look forward to here. Because old Mickey boy has all of the parts. Zane has 2 of the parts. He has the underfloor and the front wing. Mick has the chassis on top of that. And fun times ahead. Top speed is the big draw here. You can see Mick 17th, Zane 22nd without the chassis. Chassis is the big one here for that. But weirdly, despite the fact the car is predicted 17th overall, Spain 13th. And we actually, for some reason, are kind of 13th, apart from Azerbaijan and Singapore, kind of every racetrack here on in. Zane's car is predicted 16th at Spain. That's the difference the chassis makes here in Spain. It's literally 2 places because Mick would be 15 anyway. So realistically, from that point, from a realism point of view, there's not a huge much more that, whilst we could maybe push on and get into the top half average, we don't have the money to do that. And therefore, it's a nice almost cap for our own development speed for this road to glory. I will see you in Spain. But we need to set the targets here. And hilariously, it's still 18th for Mick. You know what? I'm actually going to make 18th for both. Obviously, unless the car blows up, we're probably going to be okay.
Thank you for joining us for the Spanish Grand Prix here in Barcelona. The first Grand Prix held here was won by Nigel Mansell after a wheel-to-wheel battle with Ayrton Senna. But who will follow in his footsteps this weekend? It was Charles Leclerc who tasted victory in the last race, but he will surely be looking to find the recipe for success again and achieve another podium place. Now let's get the weekend underway.
Of course, nice and sunny here in Spain all weekend. Partly cloudy though, I say that on Friday practice, but that's not what you're going to see. I'll see you for qualifying, as always. Best we're going to get with new car parts. Still, not tucks us under any confidence boundaries, at least.
There's tension in the air today, so it must be time for qualifying.
Teams often bring upgrades to Barcelona, so the qualifying order could be a little shaken up. Cars need to be well balanced in both high and low speed corners to set a good lap here.
Now we see Sauber's driver there, Karun. How do you think they'll be feeling?
It hasn't been a great showing from the team's drivers so far. Neither will want to be left behind, and I'm sure they'll both be looking to pull ahead today.
Buckle up then, folks. It's almost time for qualifying.
Just in case you were confused there, that was neither Sauber or a driver they focused on there, despite their commentary. That was indeed our pit garage. Yeah, ERS is probably the one that's going to need a new one by the end of the year, regardless, because we've burned through most of one and partway through another one. We're only at race 10. Obviously 23 on the calendar, so... Zane appears to be a little bit worse on his car parts overall as well. Don't know why. I don't know what attribute goes towards preservation of car parts, but you would think Zane arguably will actually have better car parts because he's typically lapped more than Mick and therefore has driven less distance than Mick. Not by much, but typically. Around we go. Of course, shorter lap here now. Why has nobody come out? Well, that will have compromised both drivers. That fixed the problem. Thank you, Zane. Thank God they do 2 flying laps. 1:14 for an actual lap. 1:14.4, and Zane's still somehow a lot slower. Not sure what's happened there. Of course, that's not going to help their confidence, and Zane's is only moderately fine. Is Russell still driving without a gearbox? Because Jesus Christ, that's terrible. Sargent outqualifies Albon. Hulkenberg and Bottas is faster than Mick. Perez has had a slow one as well. 1:12 the fastest, so probably around 2 minutes. Red Bull's just coming out now as well. Warm day here. I imagine we don't push the laps immediately. We'll take manual control immediately, but we'll wait on the tyres a little bit, I think. Yeah, so Zane's confidence not superb, I don't think. Still high, though. Still back to where it started, at least. Gonna say there for Mick. Gonna say, because it's a short lap. Gonna say, because it's a shortish lap now for Spain, but very warm track. As we do get through the Ferrari, at least. I suspect the McLaren ahead will start pushing before... Well, that's a valid point, actually. Because it's kind of all pushing from here on in now, because there's no chicane anymore to navigate. And if Zane's up the chuff of a Ferrari, that's not the end of the world either. That Sauber's probably on a flying lap. That's not going to help him here, but We'll pay attention to Zane, though. He's the one more in danger. Obviously, last now, as Zhou Guan Yu has completed a lap at some point, as has Magnussen and whoever else was behind. Curious by Albon here, now on a flyer, as is Russell. Russell's just crossed the line, I think. Oh, now he's on a flyer. Okay, I think it had just triggered the flying lap notification wherever they started pushing, as it so happened. Maloney somehow done a worse first sector, as has Mick on brand new tyres, of course. Zane, how are you going slower? How is it possible for you to be this much slower? Mick at least goes to 14th. I did suspect there might be an improvement in the third sector, maybe just purely from ERS purposes. There we go. I mean, he's still out, but it's much more respectable now. Albon's done. Albon's out in Q1 somehow, and Sargent's through. Zhou Guan Yu is done. Ocon doesn't look like he's going quickly, so I think he's done. Just Russell left, so Mick is fine. Yeah, Russell 10th. I think he got a toe off his teammate the entire way as well, which might have helped. Was he the front or the second? Yeah, he did get the toe off Lewis the entire way. So Zane out, but still respectively 18th in a car that was predicted 16th, but a target of 18th for him in the race. That's as long as he doesn't go backwards, we're fine. A tyre-hungry track here as well may have contributed for a very slow second lap. 1:13.8 for Mick is faster than his original one in Q1. Oh, getting the weighbridge apparently. Interesting line. Faster than Sargent and Alonso on an opening salvo is a curious... Sargent didn't go faster on a second run there. So we are going to obviously succumb to Alonso, I would imagine. Bottas is in the top 10 as things stands. What? I didn't actually see the tyre situation, whether I got it right or not. So we'll probably just push him at roughly the same point here, on the assumption we got it right. How is Bottas 10th? What's happened there? He's had an almighty toe, I reckon. We hold up a Ferrari that didn't really need to go again. And on board with Mick Schumacher. The Ferrari we will catch nice and early enough that it will not be a problem. No, we didn't actually get the tyres up to temperature immediately. Actually did need to push them early. The track is marginally cooler though. Marginally. Shouldn't be too long until it gets into temperature. I would have thought 85 was. No, what is the temperature for softs here? That's wild. We pushed them from this point. There we go. Up to temperature now at least. Slower first sector somehow, despite being on brand new tyres. Bottas and Hulkenberg have been pushed down to 12th and predictably 14th. As other drivers have... Yuki Tsunoda with a blinder. Piastri in Piastri in danger. It's only ourselves that can knock him out. But Stroll already out. How has Mick gone slower with better tyres? Please explain that. Please explain that. It's probably best not to get ahead of ourselves in terms of qualifying in a tyre-hungry track like this, because God knows what's going to happen to the confidence as people pit massively all over the place. Yuki's efforts in Q2 sadly did come undone in Q3 as he only got ahead of Fernando. Sergio's 6th. Oh, he still... Does he have an ERS, I wonder? Now. Flippin' heck. Okay. I don't know why you would even suggest that as a strategy, considering what's going on there. So we've learned from our lesson. What's the maximum you can take out here? 57? I think it's basically just that number, isn't it? 88. So 66 is bang on. Not really a track known for its safety cars. If the minimum is 57, I think we'll kind of split the difference and go 61 this time around. We won't go as bad, obviously, off the line. We're still going to try and underfield them quite aggressively because we will be lapped, of course. I mean, that's not well organised, is it? That could go faster there, and we don't need that one probably at all. Why would you not do? Why would you just not do soft, medium, like soft, medium, medium? Like attempt to do soft, medium, medium at least. Soft with 2 mediums on light mode is actually faster. I'm actually curious to see if I can alter this one to see if it will fit better. Bear in mind, obviously, we'll push on the first lap as well. Yeah, so that's faster. Just dawned on me, I need to probably do that, don't I? Because of that initial push. And we'll probably get lapped as well, so we can probably push them back another lap apiece. So that's actually the fastest way to do anything. Zane might get away with something a little better, just because... Actually, he'll have another soft tyre. There's not a lot in it. For a slightly more... Bear in mind, we can go slightly more aggressive on this. Obviously, we can get a little bit more out of all of these tyres. So I think what we gain is what we lose there. So I don't think there's really a lot in it. 15th and 18th, though, today. Let's get going.
Well, it's great to have you with us, folks, as we settle in for the weekend's Grand Prix action. Zhou Guan Yu will know exactly what's expected of him in this race.
Starting this one from 21st place puts them at such a disadvantage. They're bound to find this a difficult race.
And it looks like we're good to go. one of the oldest races on the Formula One calendar. This is the Spanish Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Max on pole. Piastri actually lined up second there. Mick gaining a place off the line. A poor start from Hulkenberg, that is, down to 16th. 17th, in fact, as both Alpines get past him as well. For good measure, at least temporarily. A lot of switching a. Oh god, Zane had a bad start. He's down to 20th. Did both Sargent and Albon have terrible starts? Because they're down to 18th and 21st respectively. Meanwhile, Mick's got past Bottas as he's fighting Lance Stroll. Sorry, we're seeing the replay for Bottas. Great camera angle for this, is whatever. Yes, they can. As I say, he says that a lot these days. He gets Stroll as well. What is he doing? Mick? We'll get a different angle for Stroll, I imagine. Just straight up the inside. What's happening here? Why's Mick got a rocket up his exhaust all of a sudden? He's gone from 15th to 12th on this first few. Mind you, historically, first laps in Spain were always very good for us, if I remember rightly. I remember that when we had Vettel at Aston Martin, he was always very good on the first lap. I don't know what it is about Spain. I mean, the AlphaTauri ahead of Ricciardo is on a medium tyre. You think he might be able to have a go there. DRS enabled, which is going to be okay. He says Ricciardo. Yes, it is. But there's also a huge gap to Bottas, crucially. I'll be pushing Mick and Zane all the way through to this detection point here, because I think from there on in, we'll be fine just using the DRS. But Bottas well detached at this stage. Tsunoda's seemingly detaching from Perez as well. As Maloney's done something. We never got replays for Maloney's start, considering we went backwards and then went forwards again. And that's why Hulkenberg had a bad start. He's on a hard tyre. Just also gets... What a place to do that. That sounded like a vibration. Sounded like a collision, really. But just the drive off there gets Hulkenberg too. That's a move. But crucially, DRS is now active, so we bring that down. Zane probably can get a little bit more out of his. Sorry, wait, what? In all that management situation, I completely missed a DRS overtake? A DRS overtake on Daniel Ricciardo. Mick is now a place outside the points. Huh? And this is a train that starts with Tsunoda. Now Hamilton. Alonso's having a nosy at Tsunoda as well, just because both had DRS and Tsunoda didn't. Sargent now Hulkenberg behind Maloney because they dropped off on their hard tyres. That's playing a long game a bit there. But Maloney is in the train that starts with Bottas. Both Alpines having a look up the inside of Valtteri. Sargent will get in touching range as well. I mean, Ricciardo with a drive somehow on Mick here. Opportunistic, really? I mean, last of the late breakers, Daniel, of course, famously. I mean, long term that will work out. He's a faster vehicle. Yeah, he's a faster vehicle on a slower tyre, so ultimately long term that will work out for Mick. In fact, it's probably doing some good getting overtaken by Stroll, but that will normally put him straight back to just normal confidence. Even though he's gone forward 2 places, his confidence will still probably end up being just as it was when we started this race, because the game is dumb. Zane is up a place net, and his confidence is less than when he started. Work that one out. There is your confidence system in full force. I wish there was a way I could change that under the hood to make actual sense. I know one of the engineer perks is increasing confidence gain and minimizing confidence losses, but you shouldn't have to have like a perfect engineer to get that fixed. I think we might enter a bit of a holding pattern here with both drivers. Interesting, mixed tyres are not cooling down. But I don't take him off any pace modes here because he does have a very hungry Stroll. Never mind. Maloney up to something. Yeah, he pulls a Ricciardo. And nicks a move there. I appreciate that from the young Barbadian. It's fun having a driver with a completely random nationality like Barbados. It was like Football Manager where you get the wonder kids out of obscure nations. They're always fun. Yeah, just having a bit of fun now, aren't we, Mick? Ocon got Bottas, and Bottas... Is Bottas on a hard? I can't really... I don't, what tyre is he on? No, he's on a soft. He's just in a Sauber. All right, then. Worth noting, Stroll saving those softs seemingly in this train. Ocon and Zhou Guanyu pushed them a little bit more than even we did. Sainz are torn to shreds. Going for a 3-stop for certain there. We can probably push Maloney a little bit as he gets past Bottas there. I saw the change on the board and completely forgot it was our driver doing it. Up the inside. Get these moves done early, Zane. It's great fun, that. And now only Ocon ahead. Mick's still in this train, of course. Russell's fallen to 10th. I need to check their situation. Oh, no, they changed his gearbox. Now he just doesn't really have any ERS. Of course, they had to change his gearbox. He was the one that blew up. But they did change Perez's ERS as well. He's just on a hard. Albon doesn't really have much of anything, which probably explains his qualifying performance. Engine subpar, gearbox subpar, ERS not great. Meanwhile, Logan Sargent doesn't really have much of a gearbox and barely any ERS. Tsunoda's gearbox is borderline, and Ricciardo is kind of okay. Stroll's struggling with ERS a little bit, as is Fernando, who's kind of average in all other car parts. So that block ahead of us, the Mercedes RBs and Aston Martins, are all varying levels worse than us, apart from really Ricciardo now. Russell, sorry. Apart from really Russell, who has gone backwards, I think, as Maloney predictably gets Ocon. I think we may just go Ricciardo there with Mick as well. But that's before the straight. Unless you've pushed him right off the track there, he will probably get you back, Zane. That was probably not great for your confidence, because overtaking being re-overtaken is going to cost you more than if you had just left it alone. Yeah, but Ricciardo, yeah, he has gone back. But Ricciardo had dropped off, I think. No DRS for Ricciardo, I can't tell at that angle. Certainly going slow enough that Stroll decided to get punchy too. Oh, he said that twice already this race. So back up to 11th and in the DRS range of Georgie. Hopefully. Probably by the end of the lap we will be at least. Not quite. Probably because they had DRS on Hamilton. They kind of fought back a little bit. Deploying didn't really work there. Caused a fight and caused us to break off even more. Maloney gets Ocon again. That feels like it's more likely to be on the main straight this time round. It is, which gives him a chance to at least pull away. Oh, they nearly collided with each other, the Alpines, in the end there. That might just be weird animation decisions. Flying in formation a little bit. 2 Alpines, 2 Williams, 2 Hasses, and then just Bottas and Zhou sandwiching all of them. Maloney has a bit more tyre wiggle room, doesn't he? So we might just push his tyres now. He's at the front of that train. Get him to deploy away as well, as we watch Ricciardo get Mick back. If anything, Mick, stay behind. Oh, he's done that wrong. Now both of them have got past. Lance Stroll on the inside. That's an opportunist strike from him. Bring that back again. Zane now driving in completely clean air. Ocon dropped off. 7 seconds behind. Might even take off battle assist at this point because he's not battling anyone. As long as Mick stays in touching distance of the drivers ahead, I'm not too bothered by him being at the back of those three. If I need to take him off the conserve fuel, then I will do. Just kind of hoping they fight enough that he keeps him with his nose in. But ultimately 13th is what we'll take, best of the rest. And 14th, of course, actually best of the rest in regards to Zane. So Mick should make his pit stop. Zane's window is open. Sainz's tyres have clearly gone off enough to get Norris back in that fight there. Yep, he's on 45. Has started to recover them a little bit. That's a point. Is Stroll pushing his tyres now? They're worse than Alonso's at least, so I think he has. Yeah, he dropped Ricciardo. So yeah, Stroll's now pushing. I'll be honest, we've overtaken Ricciardo so many times in this race, I'm not bothering to watch that anymore. Because they will fight with each other, which is not going to help anyone's confidence unless he successfully defends. Which he does do there, at least. I think he's only really pitting 1 lap later than Mick. We just won't be able to go aggressive with him. Mick is successfully defending against Ricciardo here. This might actually be good for his... No, he's not actually gaining anything for defending, really. It's so negligible. It's so negligible. Get Zane to go aggressive, as Bottas has worked his way ahead of both Alpines now as well. Sargent's at the very back for some reason. Did he have an error that I didn't see? He had a 125 lap. Don't know what's going on there. Schumacher overtakes Ricciardo. I didn't even see Ricciardo go back ahead in the first place. All right, all out here, Zane. All out. We'll go on balance on your in lap as well, just to make sure you do the best you can. Sargent pits as well. 3 stopping, evidently. Yeah, Mick now struggling on those tyres is going to drop off Ricciardo.
Box now, it'll be a double stop.
It's not a double stop. It's just because Zane hadn't actually entered the pits yet. So we're going to have to be wary, of course, of differing strategies here. If we need to let Zane... Was that an error? No. Okay, 2.7. Not great, but it's not an error. Of course, there'll be no traffic. Because Sargent pitted, he's actually almost about to be lapped immediately, which is crazy. Albon's one of his car parts, whichever one was in danger, has developed an issue now. Mick's only just going to get to the pits with functioning tyres. Zane can go aggressive on his outlap at least, just to get the tyres up to temperature. We will watch Mick as he enters the pits there. I mean, it's a nice window for Zane to be in. Considering actually Mick was about 10 seconds ahead of Zane, that's going to be fresh air as well for Mick once he comes out. I mean, he had an error, which, if anything, gives him more fresh air. Are we going to go replay to see what happened there? Because I didn't actually see what the delay was. But he was 5 seconds. I will actually just get the tyres up to temperature first and then go conserve on them. Get them back conserving fuel. They'll probably still get hot by conserving, realistically. They mixed on an outlap. Let's get them conserving fuel again. And now they're just sort of driving by themselves for a little bit. You've got to wait for the fundamental ones to get pitted. Bottas overtakes Maloney because Bottas is on a soft. Maloney isn't. Yeah, even on conserve, they're up to temperature. Stroll now pits. He made 10 seconds. It's really Ricciardo who still hasn't pitted that we need to care about here because he was on a medium, of course. Snowden's gone on to a hard. They're well ahead still. Albon now finally pits. Ends up miles behind everyone. This might be a bit boring if I'm honest. We're certainly recovering fuel well enough. I forgot what one lap was actually. I didn't check. Ricciardo still hasn't come in. He's on 28% medium, so that's going to hurt him. We are lapped up to Hulkenberg, honestly. You're probably going to be fine for fuel. You've recovered it to minus 3.6 by lap 22, and you're about to be lapped. So we'll assume about 1.5, because Monaco was the shortest, and that was 1.1. Canada was 1.4, and it's a similar lap to Canada, I would imagine. So I think as long as we get to -1, we'll be fine. Zane's likely to be lapped twice, judging by this situation, because he's about to be lapped now, and it's lap 24. There is Ricciardo, remarkably, who has come out on a hard. Apparently that counted as an overtake failed. But we are fighting Ricciardo again. So Ricciardo is definitely two-stopping because he's gone onto a hard, so he'd probably go on a soft at the end. But we'll get past him, even though we're just sort of being careful with them. There we are. One lap after he's come out. Undercut. If we can get an 11th, that would be great, because I think we'll take Haas on countback if we get an 11th. It'd be great if one of these top 10 had an issue and then ended up out of the picture entirely. Zane's back into touching distance on Bottas's softs are now 40%, so here, that's what's happened there. He's now suffering on the softs. So short-term gain for Valtteri as we hunt him down and probably pass him next time round. Ricciardo and Mick are going to be back and forth for this entire stint, I reckon. But I think Mick's a little bit less likely to be lapped twice, so I'm just going to push his fuel, recover his fuel a little bit more here. I think realistically, as long as we get Zane to -2, and on the assumption he'll be lapped twice, he'll be fine. Although actually, the front runners hadn't pitted. We're not at halfway yet, and they're about to catch the person in last again. So they're about 20 seconds behind. I am going to have to recover with Zane. Now's a good time to do it, while he's sort of dealing with Bottas. Because Bottas will pit soon, and literally does as soon as I say that. Lots of crashes. It's only a flag, but it is Max Verstappen involved. Is it Max Verstappen at the back of an Alpine he's trying to lap? I don't think anything really happened. I think he just clipped the Alpine. The camera went to the completely wrong camera at the point of actual impact there. I think he just clipped the Alpine on the corner. I don't think he actually really hurt anything. But Ricciardo's driven away somehow on new hards, which shouldn't be that good. He doesn't have enough damage to even trigger on here, so whatever. Go aggressive on Maloney. Now the pits have now opened for him. I think realistically we're fine with Mick from here. Magnussen's issue is getting worse, but that's irrelevant to both of our drivers because they're behind. All right, Maloney can go aggressive. Yeah, we need a whole batch of retirements here. Albon's actually on Zane's tail as he came into the pits there. Thankfully didn't overtake him. We're going to get a few attempts for the DHL points at least, as we're gradually getting better in the pit stop. 2.5, that is arguably our best one yet, I think. Surely it's going to push him up in the DHL ranking. Did Zane have a good stop first time round? Because I didn't get the DHL light. He's come up behind Gasly, which isn't great, but hopefully he gets in his DRS range. He's ahead of Bottas, crucially, who I think came out on a hard. So is that hard for Bottas? Yeah, it is. So he's probably going to try and go to the end. A lot of the AI might do suboptimal tyre strategies here just because of the tyre wear. Really compromised Gasly on the exit there. He's immediately out of DRS range. I kind of want to watch that exit more than anything, because he's thoroughly mugged Gasly off here. He seemed really slow coming out of that corner. I don't think there was really much on Zane there. It didn't look like he forced him or anything. Minus 1.8 for him as well. I think we'll just recover naturally to -1 by the end of this race now. But Mick's dropped well off Danny Rick. 13 seconds to Albon though, and that gap is... Well, he's now pitted, so he's going to get a bit of an undercut. Although he's had an issue, so that cancels out. Mick's window is now open. Yeah, that's fine. He's on target. It might get a bit boring here, unfortunately, because we're not really fighting anyone. We're being lapped, though, which is a problem. I don't think there's anyone really in danger of lapping Mick before he pits again now. Ferrari's well behind. One of the ones that lapped him is now in the pits, annoyingly. But because Ricciardo's going to be going long on those hards, it's going to be an undercut whilst Ricciardo stays on those hards. But then I think he's probably going to go on a soft. Fascinating to see these people who pitted a little bit later, like Bottas and Zhou Guanyu, because that was their second stop already. Fascinating to see if they'll try and go to the end on them. So Mick's lapped, but he's about to pit a second time. which is fine because everyone else ahead of him has already pitted once as well. So now everyone's a net 1 lap down. So Mick needs a better lap if he's got any hope of getting in the DHL points. As both people who lapped him in the first place, oh no, Leclerc actually is the only one that has. Sainz comes in behind him. So at least that's one person who isn't going to have to re-lap him. Well, he's accidentally undercut by pitting first. 2.7, it's not great, but at least it's better than his previous one. Comes out behind Zane, but Zane does need to pit again. I'll try and keep an eye on the gap to Zane. It is marginally coming down, although Mick just got lapped, so that's going to save him. Magnussen's fault takes him out. Irrelevant, he was behind anyway. Keep an eye on the gap between Zane and Mick. That's just got super close. Before Zane's even... This is a problem. I don't want to compromise Zane. I think Mick's far enough behind. Actually, probably worthwhile doing that, isn't it? I probably say Mick's far enough behind that he can probably sensibly do it after the DRS zone. Because I don't think he'll get him naturally in this DRS zone. Tell him to not fight here and he might be able to get out of the way in a sensible fashion. I thought he'd just do it there, but he doesn't. Get out of the way, Zane! Oh, he's done it now anyway, but alright. That was so stupid. Why did he do it like that? What? I mean, at least he didn't lose confidence from it, but... Like, you all saw that, right? He let him through after I switched it back off again because he was an imbecile and didn't do it in a corner. And it's compromised him so badly. Why have you done it like that, Zane? You imbecile. Pit window's actually open, so he can go aggressive here as well, which is the stupidest part of it all. Mick doesn't need to be on ERS issue as well. Bottas has an issue which will save us with Zane. Well, he's about to be lapped as well, which isn't going to help things. We're 36 seconds behind Ricciardo, but he's just had a lockup and hasn't pitted yet. So we're only 5 seconds behind him. Now he's come out again. Didn't tell me to actually pit Zane there, which is unhelpful. Sonoda has a technical fault. That one could be useful. Realistically, we need 2, though, because we haven't got past Ricciardo. And nor are we, I don't think, because I presume he went on to a soft at the end, and he did indeed, yes. So that's great. We are only going to benefit from people who went on hards. They've come off them, actually. Nobody's pushing their tyres beneath 30%, which is a shame. No one's really risking it. Oh, is Zane in danger of being 2-lapped? I think he is. Verstappen's coming around final turns now. I think he'll get 2-lapped. Crucially, I think Zane is about to be lapped by people there. That's a Mercedes. So that he's kind of come out behind people that would have lapped him. So that's fun. He doesn't have to get out of the way of them. But Verstappen and Leclerc are not too far behind him. He could probably push his fuel, actually, for the rest of this race. Comes out 7 seconds, 8 seconds ahead of Albon. And he's on a soft now, so that should be fine for him. Albon's also on a soft, but pitted a little bit early. Fair enough. Russell has a mechanical fault, but I think that might be ERS-based. Sargent locked up, but someone else just had a brief flash as well. Hamilton. Ultimately, though, I think we're stuck here. Albon's developed a fault. Again. I think he already had one briefly, didn't he? No, we don't. We're lapped. Have we lapped Gasly there? Because that's an Alpine behind. Yeah, Mick's lapped Gasly and Sargent. There is a yellow flag now, though. Why is nobody crashing? Oh, it was Sargent as well. That's depressing. So Zane has been lapped twice, actually. I'm pretty certain. But only by Verstappen. He hasn't been lapped twice by Leclerc yet, who is behind him. I think Sargent's about to be lapped a 3rd time by Verstappen. Because he just locked up there. Yeah, he is. Russell has been lapped by Verstappen. This is why this is so dumb. The power differentials are so ridiculous at this stage of this game. I was hoping mentality might fix that a little bit, because I think because the people at the front are obviously performing well, they are getting good mentality because they're performing well and they like all their facilities and they like their car and they like their staff and all that jazz. So they're getting great mentality on top of their already great base attributes, and it kind of snowballs. Meanwhile, the drivers at the back don't like their car, don't like their staff, don't like their performances, and therefore they're getting bad mentality and therefore they're driving slower. So both ends are getting further apart because of the mentality. I think that's part of the problem. I don't think they've quite got the nuance right on it. Yeah, unfortunately, we got a boring race unless anyone decides to bin it at the very end here. Sorry, did Gasly just unlap himself on Zane? Why? Why did he just unlap himself? And how did he actually manage it? More to the point. Yeah. Final lap, apparently. With Leclerc behind, I kind of don't want him to get past, so just go for it, Zane. Why not? His final lap for Verstappen, who is crucially actually behind Mick. Mick is probably the last one not to get lapped twice. So Mick is just starting his final lap. I guess irrelevant for Zane, but it was just more a case of he caught Sargent by the end of this. Zane nearly lapped someone. Depressing for Sargent, but I don't know. In case Ricciardo bins it on that turn there and somehow we get to him 30 seconds up the road. Closer, at least, because it was, what, 12 seconds to Albon before, and then Albon was about 40 seconds off the RBs last time. previously. So it's effectively a net 20 seconds, I guess. Mick gets close to Zhou Guan Yu, I think that is, who does get out of the way to let Mick lap him on the line. 13th, 14th. Norris has had a stinker there, actually. He's ended up 6th. Both of them have. And I'm fascinated to know what went wrong with the McLarens there. Hamilton had a weird race as well. Down 4 places. Alex does his predictable, but only ends up behind us. Of course, started behind us this time, though, so that might be part of it. Although he has started behind us on a few occasions and still got through. But this time we do have the edge, so this seems to be now our holding pattern. 13th, 14th is where we... Well, it said Mick was going to be 13th. Maybe we got 14th through strategy with Zane a little bit, maybe, perhaps. I don't know. He said he was predicted 16th on the preview. So, for this particular track. And crucially, nobody hurt a chassis, so we don't have to buy an emergency part. Yeah, unfortunately, a bit of a bland race. We did sneak in with that 2.54, even though we didn't pop up on the side with the DHL pop-up thing. We did sneak in there. It's a point, which, you know, at this stage, we're miles behind everyone else, so it's kind of a bit pointless. But yeah, it was a better lap, so I don't know why neither of these popped up as an improvement DHL-wise. But another 800 grand will go towards things. As I say, facility-wise, we are waiting for those background ones to actually go off, and then we can refurb them whilst improving them. This is what I was worried about. We did get suspensions in before this, and we are building, I think, side pods manufacturing wise. No, we're not actually building a side pod. Why are we not doing that? Well, the next race is 4 days. Why are we not doing that? Realistically, because we're only going to be doing 1 car part per ATR period, we'll just bank things like that now. I don't know what to do about research either, because research is still not optimal for the AI, but we also don't have the money to really research either. Gotta pray for no side pod damage in Austria, aren't we? But we now have 2 chassis of both versions, so at least Mick has a spare one if he hurts his, and then both will be able to get it for there. So ATR period opens now, in fact. So what we're going to do, because our weak point is top speed, we are going to try and help that with 1 rear wing. Oh, interestingly, the update didn't actually overwrite our... Oh, I've got that wrong, I think. Yeah, okay, so for some reason it's not actually overwritten what I did before, and that's wrong as well. That should be 5, not 0.5, which would have been a problem anyway. But I'm going to have to undo them, because they fixed this in the background, but for some reason it's not fixed the game. So maybe it's a case of sorting out the files in Steam itself, and then just going from there. That'll probably sort out the problem. But once that's sorted, we will design a rear wing and put all our eggs in the rear wing basket for this particular month. Window, I should say. But that's it. We'll do 1 car part now, and that might actually be the last car part. Perhaps we could do 2 parts. No, I think we'll just do 1 new part per window until the last one, which we'll do research in. So thank you for joining me. If you found some enjoyment in that parade race, really, it wasn't really much of a race, was it? It was fun at the beginning when we were fighting people, and then it sorted itself out, really, and then no incidents. So sorry for that, but if you did enjoy that, if you enjoy the continuation of this, at the very least, and where we're going and what's happening so far and our progress, then do like, comment, subscribe. I will see you soon for Austria, a sprint race, I believe. Until then, ta-ra.